You think proving them wrong makes them respect you. You're naive. Proving them wrong just makes them realize you're dangerous. The laughter stopped after I saved that boat in the storm, yes. But what replaced it was worse. Silence. It's the kind of heavy, suffocating silence that comes before an ambush. The shipyard changed after that night. Before I was just a nuisance, a kid playing with tools. Now I'm a threat to their ego, a glitch in their comfortable matrix of mediocrity. The old-timers don't look at me anymore. They look through me. I feel their eyes burning into my back whenever I turn around like crosshairs, waiting for a clear shot. Barnaby feels it too. He doesn't sleep soundly near the container door anymore. He paces, low growls vibrating in his small chest, sensing the shift in the pack hierarchy. I thought the hard part was doing the work. I was wrong. The hard part is dealing with the nest of vipers you disturb when you dare to succeed in their territory. It started small. Psychological warfare designed to chip away at my sanity. Tools were misplaced right when I needed them most, forcing me to waste precious hours hunting them down. Important materials arrived suspiciously damaged, delaying critical phases of my build. A calibration dial on my welding machine was turned back, just enough to ruin a perfect seam if I wasn't hyper-aware. They weren't trying to stop me anymore. They were trying to make me look incompetent. They were baiting me. They wanted the explosive, immature reaction of a typical 19-year-old so they could point and say, "See, he doesn't have the temperament for this business." Every time a wrench went missing, I heard their silent, collective snickering carried on the wind. It took every ounce of willpower I possessed to swallow the curse words bubbling in my throat and maintain my composure. I knew that the moment I reacted to their games, I was playing by their rules. Then they crossed the line from games to warfare. One morning, I opened my container and was hit by the sickening chemical smell of industrial grease. Someone had broken in during the night. They had taken an entire bucket of thick black sludge and dumped it over a stack of expensive mahogany wood I'd spent a week hand prepping for a custom helm. It was ruined, irreparably, just like that. Hours of meticulous, soulful sweat destroyed in seconds because someone's fragile ego was bruised by my existence. I stood there, paralyzed, the smell filling my lungs. My fists clenched so hard my knuckles turned white, my fingernails digging into my palms. This wasn't a prank. This was an act of violence against my craft, a desecration of my sanctuary. The heat rising in my chest right then had nothing to do with ambition or success. It was pure, primal American rage demanding a release. I stormed out of the container blind with fury. I knew exactly who did it. It was the foreman's nephew, a smug 20-something who always cut corners and hated that I didn't. I saw him across the yard smirking near the dry dock with his friends. I grabbed a heavy steel pipe wrench from a nearby bench. The metal felt cold, solid, and reassuring in my hand. The walk toward him felt like an out-of-body experience. All I could see was red haze. I didn't care about the code. I didn't care about the future. I wanted to break something. I wanted to settle this the old-fashioned shipyard way with blood and bone. Barnaby was barking frantically at my heels, snapping at my jeans, sensing the terrifying shift in my energy from builder to destroyer. I was 10 feet away from making a mistake that would get me thrown out of the yard forever and validate everything they said about me. I stopped. Just before I reached him, a voice inside my head, maybe the code, maybe just survival instinct, screamed, "Stop." I forced myself to turn around, my whole body vibrating with adrenaline. I walked back to my container and locked the door behind me. The silent forge felt like a pressure cooker about to blow. I threw the wrench against the corrugated metal wall with all my strength. The sound was deafening, a metallic scream of frustration in the small space. I paced the floor like a caged animal, breathing hard. But then I stopped and looked at my blueprints on the wall. I looked at the prototypes I was building. If I fight them on their terms with noise and violence, I become exactly what they want. A thug, a failure. A true success mindset isn't about being a saint who ignores hate. It's about being an alchemist, I have to take this raw, ugly venom they're spitting at me and throw it into my own engine. I have to burn it. The first step of alchemy is securing your vessel. You cannot brew powerful energy in a leaky pot. I stopped being a victim right then. I spent the entire night turning my workspace into a fortress. I installed heavy-duty deadbolts on the container door, drilling into the steel until my arms shook. I covered the small windows with thick steel mesh I salvaged from the scrap heap. I set up a primitive tripwire alarm system made from fishing line and scrap bells inside the entrance. It wasn't paranoia, it was professionalism. If they wanted a war, they'd find I was prepared for a siege. Barnaby watched me work all night, his ears perked, understanding that our sanctuary was under attack, and we were fighting back. By dawn, my container wasn't just a shed. It was a bunker. I was sending a clear message without saying a single word. You cannot touch what is mine. The next day, I didn't complain to the boss. I didn't confront the nephew. I just cleaned up the grease, silently, methodically. But my work changed instantly. It became aggressive, violent even. Every time I swung a hammer, I pictured their smug faces on the receiving end of the blow. Every weld I laid down was hotter, deeper, more permanent, as if I was welding their criticizing mouths shut forever. When they whispered behind my back in the lunchroom, I used the rhythm of their gossip as a metronome to speed up my pace. I took their scorn, that thick, toxic energy meant to poison me, and I burned it as jet fuel in my internal engine. They thought they were breaking me with their hate, but they were just feeding the beast. I was no longer just working for a paycheck or experience. I was waging total war through absolute excellence. But burning scorn as your primary fuel source has a devastating price. It's corrosive to the soul. After 2 weeks of running on pure, unadulterated hate, I crashed hard. I sat on the floor of my container at 3 a.m., surrounded by perfect, completed work, yet feeling utterly hollowed out inside. My hands were shaking uncontrollably, not from exertion, but from a nervous system fried by sustained rage. The anger had burned away all the joy of creation, leaving only ash. Barnaby crawled into my lap, whining softly, licking the mixture of sawdust and dried tears from my face. He reminded me that the goal isn't just to beat them, it's to build me. The fuel of scorn is powerful like nitroglycerin. You use it for the explosion to break through a wall, but you cannot run your engine on it forever without blowing yourself up. I pulled myself together, switched fuels back to my vision, and prepared for the final reveal. I unveiled the new rudder design I had forged in that period of rage, a radical hybrid of stainless steel and carbon composite. It looked alien, predatory, and undeniably superior against the old wooden hulls in the yard. The foreman, the one whose nephew sabotaged me, came to inspect it, ready to tear it apart with criticism. He walked around it for 10 minutes looking for a flaw, a crack, anything to exploit. He found nothing. It was mechanically perfect. He stood up, wiped his hands on his overalls, and looked at me. I didn't see respect in his eyes yet. I saw something better, fear. He realized my competence had created a force field that his petty sabotage couldn't penetrate. He just grunted and walked away. The crowd of onlookers dispersed silently. I had won the battle without throwing a single punch. I stood on the end of the dock as the sun went down over the Atlantic, my body aching but my mind clearer than it had been in months. Barnaby sat beside me watching the waves. I realized then that in the pursuit of a massive vision, you will not always have cheerleaders. Sometimes the only fuel available will be the doubt, hatred, and scorn of others. And that's okay. Use it when you must. Let it burn the weakness out of you. But don't let it become who you are. Don't fear the haters. Pity them. They are burning their limited energy watching you while you are using their energy to build an empire. If you're tired of letting other people's negativity slow you down, it's time to learn alchemy. Subscribe to Aletheia Flow. We don't just endure the fire here. We become the fire.